Hello and welcome back to Joe's Math Tools. In our session today, we are solving another rational equation by using the LCM. So if you're ready, let's get started. So when solving our rational equation, we are going to begin by first looking for our LCD. Remember that your LCD will be consisted of all of the terms in your denominator, and in this fraction we have 2z, we have z, and we have 2. Now in looking at our terms, one of the things that should stand out to you is 2z, because remember that when you combine these terms together, the denominator needs to be made up out of all of the parts that are going to be the same, or at least all of the terms, I should say, that are part of your denominator. And in our denominator, we have z, 2z, and then we have a 2. So we know that when we multiply our z times 2, it's going to give us 2z. So right away, I know that my LCD is going to be 2z for these fractions. So I'm now going to find my equivalent fraction for each of these fractions where the denominator is 2z. And in starting with my first fraction, we have 2z already in the denominator, so we're going to return that 3 back to our equation. Now let's look at our next term, or our next fraction, sorry. We have 1z, and again we are changing this to its equivalent form where it is 2z. And remember that like we did with our working in the corner where we multiply z times 2 to get 2z. I'm also going to be multiplying this z times 2, and then that means my 1 will also be multiplied to 2, which will equal to 2. So I'm going to return that 2 back to my equation, and now we're going to work on our last and final fraction, which is 1/2. And we're changing it to its equivalent form where 2z is the denominator. And just like how we multiplied our z times 2, we're also going to be multiplying our 2 times z, which means that 1 will be multiplied to z, which will equal to z. So now that we have changed our fractions into the equivalent form where 2z is denominator for all of these fractions, we are now going to solve for our unknown variable z. And 3 plus 2 is 5, which means that my z is equal to 5. Okay, so let's do our most important, which is to check our answer. So we said that z is equal to 5. So now let's apply our substitution, where we will be substituting z everywhere that it appears in our equation with the number 5. And remember, after you have done your substitution, you are now going to solve these fractions to see if they will equal to the exact same thing on both sides of the equation. Remember that our fractions must be, well, both sides of our equation must be equal. That is the goal in checking our answer. So now we have 3 fractions with unlike denominator, and our LCD for our numbers 10, 5, and 2 is going to be 10. Because again, we know that 5 times 2 is equal to 10, so naturally the LCD will be 10. So now let's change these fractions into the equivalent form where we have 10 in the denominator. And since 3 already has 10, we're going to return that 3 back to our equation. And now with our 5, we're going to multiply our 5 times 2, which means that 1 will also be multiplied times 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. And then for our final fraction, which is our 1/2, we are also going to change this into its equivalent form, and we will be multiplying that 2 times 5, which means that 1 will also be multiplied to 5, which will equal to our fractions now in their equivalent form. So let's solve our equation, and we have 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, and we know that when 5 is equal to 5, that means that my answer z equals 5 is the correct answer for our equation. Okay, so we just solved another rational equation. I hope this was very easy and you were able to follow along without any problems. Remember to always get in that additional practice, always work to develop your skills, and when you're ready to learn a new skill, make sure that you return back to Joe's Math Tools, where we make math easy.